Hello, I'm Augusta Wynn. This is Into the Toad. You are under no obligation to be the person you were 5 minutes ago. It's one of the first Alan Watts quotes that really intrigued me and got me into navigating this path to happiness. That phrase has acquired new meaning and definition with each step. And now it just makes me laugh. Because it encapsulates all the problems with unhappiness and all the barriers to just being alive. Because you are none of those things that you think you are. You're a junior vice president trying to get the promotion, to get more money, to get more respect, to get more power, to get more authority. To what? To what's next? Is there an end? There's a great, I don't know if it's a story or it's something I've heard a few times in a few different versions from a few different people, and it's about an American meeting a Mexican at the fishing hole, and the Mexican man is bringing in his catch, and it's 10:30 in the morning, and the American said, "Well, you're doing pretty good out there. You should have stayed out and caught more." And the Mexican man says, "Well, this is all my family needs for today." And the American man says, "Yeah, but if you stay out all day, you can catch a lot more, and they're worth money, and then you make more money." And the Mexican man says, "Well, and then what?" He said, "Well, then you get another boat. You get a bigger boat. And you get more boats, and you hire people to run those boats, and everybody stays out all day, and everybody catches more fish, and the money just keeps coming in exponentially." That's how you build a good business. That's how you succeed. And the Mexican man keeps asking, "Yeah, but then what? What's to do what? To what end?" And it's always this more. And finally, the American man says, "Well, then I guess at the very end, then you don't even have to come to work anymore. You can just sit at home and have a meal with your family." The Mexican man, of course, said, "Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm already there." It's this pursuit that we are indoctrinated with, that is part of our culture, that is endemic, that blocks the true path to happiness. You can't have both. You can't be the man with all the power and the possessions and all the other things that you think you need, and also be happy. They're two different directions. They're entirely different things. And once you surpass the survival, and survival can mean that there's gradations. There's I have enough. There's I earn enough, but the way I'm earning it is not healthy. It's taxing me more than it's giving me. So the steps to enough can be complicated. You need some kind of stability in life, especially after the flood of energy from youth starts to wax, or wane, I should say, to wane, to dissipate, to disappear for some people. You have to have your lifestyle arranged so that you can still function and still have some peace and happiness in your daily routine. So I don't want to dismiss the entire idea of productivity and capitalism and success when it comes to money. But there's something very fundamental about it that leads many people on a path to nowhere, and in the end to self-destruction. Because if there's people who love you, who are close to you, and you're taking them on that journey, and they know there's nothing at the end, but you refuse to acknowledge there is no terminus, there's no goal. The goal shifts every day. It's more money, and that can mean the better job or the different job or the different stock account or portfolio or connections or neighborhood or school, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all pursuing something that does not exist. Once you have enough that nobody can lord it over you, you have a way to earn that doesn't take more from you than it gives. And that's a whole spectrum of things. People are so diverse and full of so many different capacities. So for some people, gardening might be something that they can do without any overdue strain or burden their entire life. For others, that level of physical effort might be too much once they're 30 years old. Everybody has a bandwidth of comfort and ability. And it can change with lifestyle and diet and outlook and motivation. But it can only change so much. So finding a way to survive in our world that doesn't rob you of your happiness, in my mind, means you found a way to earn money that doesn't take too much from you while you're doing it. It's not, I'm sure we've all had jobs. I know I've had a string of them that I, even as a young man, I know I can't keep doing this. Like, this is preposterous. And I would show up on time, aggressively doing it, succeeding at it. But even working construction in my early 20s, traveling around, backpacking around the world, and just trying to go to a big city, find a job on a job site, and do whatever was needed for as much time as I needed to save up enough money to take a few months off and live somewhere cheap. Cheap and warm was always the goal. So make a little bit of money in like London, work construction in London, and work my butt off. And then winter comes, and I have a few £1,000s saved up, and I'm exhausted. It's 6 days a week, 12-hour shifts, just taxing physical labor, and then go somewhere else. So it's warm and cheap. When you're in London, you can go anywhere on the planet. And for me, it was Egypt and the Middle East, and it was all exciting and interesting and exotic and different. Climate was good. There was always a way to travel cheap and live cheap, and just carry on. That was what I wanted at that time. But doing it, I would wake up in the middle of the night with numb hands and feet from standing all day, from working my hands with whatever I had to do. Just this repetitive labor was not for me. And at 20 years old, I didn't really think about it long term, but I knew that I was going to do something else. But I was starting to rule things out. And that's, I think, the process for a lot of people. And if they get onto a path that's giving them money, they stop ruling it out. You're no longer looking at the pros and cons. You're just looking at the revenue, at what you can earn. And it becomes your identity. And that's what you use to convince your significant other that you're a safe catch. You know, you're gonna do this. And you already, even as a young person, when you haven't really gotten into the thick of it yet, telling them and telling yourself, there's going to be sacrifices, and I'm going to have to work long hours, and everything, the job's got to come first. And this mindset is voluntarily adopted for that glimmer of, well, my end game is peace and happiness, retirement, money, big house, no worries, all that. This hazy, dreadfully hazy image of what happiness is. Because you're born into a system that requires you produce aggressively, and the costs go up and values go down, and this is life. This is what we're tasked with. So it's challenging. And you can spend a whole lifetime going down the wrong path, ruining your emotional self, your relationships, forgetting entirely what any of this is about, and no longer being able to appreciate and accept it and see it. And I know because I was there. My professional life collapsed at the moment when I was making the most money and had achieved all of the quote-unquote success that I had been pursuing. And as soon as the first paycheck came in, I remember not acknowledging it to myself out loud, but having the sensation that something is dreadfully wrong here. Here it is. I already did it. In 1 month, I had turned my financial world around, solved all the problems. It was going to keep coming in. I didn't mind the work. I enjoyed it. I was good at it. But something was echoing. It was empty. What now? What's next? Well, to get there, you had to shun everything else. You had to grind, which it's not conducive to healthy relationships. Friendships are work-based, which usually involve just a lot of release, so a lot of heavy drinking or drugs or whatever that release is, with people that understood what your challenges and your pressures were. And maybe you have someone sticking by you. I did not. And I did not have the emotional maturity to acknowledge that I was the one preventing that from happening to myself. The reason I wasn't happy with somebody was me. It didn't have anything to do with anything else. Just like every other problem in my life. It was me. And for me to learn that and to have that awareness and to accept that was provided by the Toad. This impetus for this whole discussion, for everything that I talk about now. That was what provided me with the clarity that was already in me. The Toad doesn't change you. It unchanges you. It unmakes you. You can't carry your construct in and out of the medicine. There's no room for it. There's no room for anything except what actually is when you're in the medicine. And that is the lesson I needed to get back to where I started with happiness and love and joy and appreciating life. Whatever this is, I don't care. I don't need to understand it. I don't need to explain it. The further I get from being able to explain what all this is and understanding how to label it, the happier I become. I spent most of my life as an intellectual, a student of literature and history, the human condition. I thought all these answers were in the books from the philosophers and the thinkers and the writers and maybe the drug addicts and the criminals. There was something being hidden from me, and I was going to find it. That was a big part of my early life, which kind of got dismantled when getting into adult life and pursuing that, I didn't have any resources. I didn't have any money. I didn't even understand how the world worked. Didn't know how to pay my taxes. I had ignored the reality of my practical situation and survival. And so then I regrouped. Oh, well, I guess those childhood pursuits of what happiness really is and what life's all about need to be put away. It's time to buckle down and make money. And I can remember actually thinking that and doing it, and within a very short period of time, just fabricated a career. And thinking, well, geez, if it's this easy, how substantial can it be? All these careers that I'm now admiring, I'm looking at the person who's driving this car and having that house and doing these vacations or whatever. How real was their? Did they do the same? Did they just whip it up out of thin air and just adopt it? Because that's really what it is. You're playing that role, and we all know it. But on the stage, it's whoever can be the most convincing is going to win. And when you get to where the real money is, there are some serious players, and there's competition. And it becomes very easy to forget that this is all a game. That everybody in that room, including the person speaking to the audience at the big convention or whatever, has fabricated the construct of their professional identity. Why they're worth money, how much they're worth, what they do with it. All of that is made up. We know it's made up. You're not born with it. You're born with passions and inclinations, but no one's born with any kind of practical knowledge about how to successfully navigate the constantly shifting landscape of our society. There isn't one thing to know. It's what to know today. It's littered with landmines and pitfalls and illogical juxtapositions. It doesn't make sense because it's like the stock market. It's this product of group think. It's manifest by such a complex thing that there's a group of people that nod and agree to it, and it becomes valuable. Every from our money to the stock market to the price of eggs, it's all just this agreed illusion that we're all nodding to and say, yeah, this is. And you can pretend it's not, that you're not. You're just, well, I have to play by the rules, but you are accepting it. This acceptance of that system is our motivation when we make the decisions about how we're going to interact with it and what we're going to become. It gets so deeply interwoven with your wants and your fears and your most secretly held beliefs, your faith. It all becomes tangled. And the medicine untangles it. You cannot bring that in and out of the medicine. So when you come out, you got to start over. And that sounds scary. And it might sound like, oh my God, it's like being brainwashed. Or, there's a lot of ways to look at this. It's not for everybody. I grant that. It's for me, and it's brought me happiness, which is why I talk about it. It is the truth in my life. Everything else has become untrue to a certain degree. Everything else has become part of the game and the illusion, except for this thing which stands alone, this place at the very bottom of us. That's where the medicine brings you, kicking and screaming usually, for a glimpse of what is. And you can come out and you can get on your conference call and do your pitch about the latest whatever and convince everybody that you're the person and you're the value and all that. But you will be playing a role if you've come out of the medicine in a month. You can still do everything. You are more capable than ever before. There you are, sober and clear-headed and fully alert, and you can do all the things you were doing. But you don't do them under the weight of the illusion anymore. That's stripped away. You can see yourself doing the things because that's what you are doing. They're not necessary. They're not real. This is the game, which is fine. Why not? There should be a game. There's nothing wrong with the game. It's how we play it. Alan Watts said that there should be, in a healthy society, will allow deviations from it. People who choose to not play the game are still accepted. You know, the cultures in India where their role is to sit and to receive gifts for their survival. They need water and food and shelter and clothing, and the society provides it. They're not shunned. They're not spit on the way that you see in a fully capitalist society like the U.S. If you tell someone you're a beggar, you're not welcome to the dinner party. It's not accepted. Even though we know in this society you can become that person through no fault of your own. You can do everything perfectly your entire life and end up on a street corner having to beg for money. That is a reality in this system, in this game. But we don't accept it because it's too scary. Well, then that means it could be me. They didn't work hard enough. They drink. They do drugs. They don't listen. They don't do what they're supposed to. They don't follow the rules. Therefore, they deserve that punishment of starvation and disease and exposure. That's our reaction. When you're in the car and somebody comes up and you put the window up, you don't want to make eye contact. Or you go the other way and you pretend that you're accepting of this. Oh, no, everyone else is mean to you. I'm going to help. Here's $1. And it's still a performance. The reality is it's you begging right there, right then. That is you, just as you are the billionaire on the yacht. It's all you. It's all possible in this game. And you can navigate it. The more shrewd you are, the less you're considerate of others, it seems, the better you'll be at the navigation and to understand the rules and what to do and what not to do, because there's certain things that people do to become the rich in this society that if you sat a room full of people down and said, this is what you have to do, they're all going to say, I'm not doing that. Like, that's cruel and unusual. Well, that's the stuff that people do. You know, it's the thieving, the cheating, the lying, the manipulating, taking advantage of the vulnerable. That's a big story for the rich, for a lot of the rich. Not all of them. But that is how you start with nothing and end up with something a lot of the time. If you just have a good idea or you have a good work ethic and you're honest, you are not going to be the leader of men. You know, there's steps that have to be taken that some people have no problem with and others do. So maybe that person begging for change and making you uncomfortable, you don't know. Maybe they had an opportunity to do just that, step on someone's neck and get ahead, and they said no, and it just determined all the pitfalls that were going to come for them and get them all the way to that spot where they're shivering in the cold on the side of the road begging for change. You don't know. It's all too complex to have your judgment take any part in it. and your opinions on what's good and what's bad and what's fair and what's not fair, they don't exist either. When I say the illusion doesn't get through the medicine, it's not that you just come out and you're like, oh, my exam's next week and I'm going to do my best, but I'm not going to stress on it because it's just an exam, and I know that because the medicine showed me it's just the drama of life. No. This is lessons learned at the cellular level, at the spiritual level. There's just an understanding where the threats don't apply anymore, the pressures don't work anymore. It's a glorious, liberating, empty feeling. You become lighter. Alan Watts said there was a Zen master famous in his time, I think his last name was Suzuki, and he asked him, what's it like being enlightened? And he said, it's just like regular life, it's just 2 inches off the ground. There's no weight, there's no pressure, there's no friction. You're floating through it. And I can see a little bit of that. That's the sensation. And it's all about the sensations. It's not about the logic and the rationale or the good and the bad or the doctrine. It's just a sensation. It's just what you're feeling. Right now, you might be feeling compressed. You might be feeling squeezed. How can you do all this? And even if you do, are you even going to get the credit? You're finally going to get this for her, and is she even going to understand what you had to do to get it? Are they going to know next week what you had to do to show up the way you're going to show up and to deliver what you're going to deliver? Is it going to work? What if it doesn't work? What if you don't get that loan? What if you don't get that job? What's the worst thing that can happen? I can remember early on in this adventure making moves in my life and talking to Becker, my friend who introduced me to the medicine the first time, and just spewing words from the pressures I was creating for myself about what I was going to do with my business and decisions I was going to make and the what ifs. And I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it because of blah, 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 blah. I've already figured it out. It's just going to work. And if it doesn't, I just don't know. Because I just don't know what's going to happen. But everything has to roll on this. Everything's at stake. And Becker's a very mild-mannered, humble, amazing person. And he would let me rant. And then at the end, he would usually say something like, I would say, well, if it doesn't work, I lose in everything. And he would always say, well, and then what? What's the worst? And it would usually end up with me saying, yeah, but my credit's going to be wrecked. I'm not going to have any money left. I can't pay any of my bills. Everyone's coming after me. It's all imploding and it's over. I'm done. Yeah, but then what? Well, then I'll be homeless. He said, well, you can live with me. You will never be without a place. If that's the thing you're worried about, you have people. Everybody has somebody. And I was living a pretty lonely existence at that time. And I still had somebody. But what's the worst? What if everything goes wrong right now? What is going to happen to you and all this fabrication? This whole thing that you built up. It's all going to come crumbling down. Well, it doesn't even exist. How can it crumble down? And by the way, you're crumbling. The planet itself is crumbling. The city, the government, the institutions, the roads, the electrical grid. It's all crumbling right now. It's in a constant flux, and everything is expiring at a pretty rapid pace. At a pretty rapid pace. If you zoom out, if you zoomed all the way in, yeah, it's just a chaotic struggle. You're in the trenches, and you're dodging a swinging sword, and you're countering with a stab. It's hard to get a picture of it zoomed in that far into your illusion. It's hard to get any perspective. What's chaos and terror zoomed out, it's serenity and peace, harmony, beauty. Because there's nothing at stake. The worst thing is it ends. And the medicine shows you, well, if it's going to end, when it's going to end, this is where you'll be. This is what you go through. This is the mindset you'll bring right now because we just brought you into it. How did you handle it? Eric says the whole thing is preparing for death. And by the whole thing, I mean life itself. Not just the medicine. The medicine's the tool. It lets you do it. It's a blessing. It's a gift. If you're watching a professional athlete in any stage of success, there's something about, especially if it's a physical, demanding sport, there's something about the way they move. You see, you can just watch a gymnast or a dancer walk down the hall, and you can see they move a little differently. And there's training and discipline and strength and mobility and all these other things. But there's also people that have found a way to deal with pressure. Pressure feels like fear. Most of us avoid it. And there's a whole segment of people who talk about, getting out of your comfort zone. And all this comes from this real notion that something is keeping you from your potential. That's why the pressure exists. That's why the fear is there. It's your challenge. It's your test. It's your game. You don't have to play. There's no dire consequences because there are no stakes. They don't exist. They're just the ones you've made up, which creates the pressure. So when you get to something that feels heavy pressure and tons of fear, your construct is telling you this is everything. Everything's riding on this. I can't do this. This is it. Because you need to get there. And of course you can get there. All you have to do is go. There's no stakes. There's no failure. There is nothing terrible when you're zoomed out. You might lose the battle. You might lose the fight. You might get hurt. But you might die. It still doesn't count as a high stake because you're dying anyway. There's no escape. Nobody gets out. All the stakes and the activity that we engage in, it's fabricated, all of it. Either from yourself or from what other people told you. You grew up and they told you you're going to be this. Your whole life, that's all you've known. And then you get there. And you don't know what the hell you're doing. And all the people that told you what you were, now they're gone. And you're sitting there around your wealth and luxury and possessions, and you don't know. You don't know what you are. You don't know what it was for. If death came right now and it's right next to you, it's at your elbow constantly. It's right here. I worked as a newspaper reporter, one of my early jobs, early careers, and I had to do a story about a married couple celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary, put on by all their family, kids and grandkids, and the whole deal. And they drive home just beaming, smiling, full of love. And a vehicle 100 feet away, coming the other direction on the interstate, hit a deer, launched the animal 100 feet over the median into the windshield of this car, killing the husband, who was behind the wheel, instantly, and not doing anything else. The wife was fine. He was gone. There's no preventing that. How many things were set in motion to allow for that incident to occur? And when did they begin? Did they begin when that man was born? Or did they begin when his mother became pregnant? Or when she was born? It's way too complex, this thing that we're in, for you to have any role in it at all except your playtime, your drama, your game. That's what you get, which is not going to be controlled by you. There's not much that's actually in your control except these daily choices about what's heavy, what's risky, what's scary. Once you get a handle on what you are afraid of, the whole thing just becomes a game board. It's a simple thing. It's not easy. There are very few people who are going to dive in to find out what they are afraid of. Because there's only one way to do it. That's head on. That's going into that pressure, into that fear, to find out what's on the other side. My first experiences with psychedelics were there was a bunch of really wonderful experiences, but the common thread was fear and panic. This potential. I knew I was taking small doses. I was brand new. And I knew I was just on the surface of something that was much bigger than me. And now I see it as I'm tapping into the construct that I've built around myself. My fears, my ambitions, my idea of what this world is and what I am in it started to wobble a little bit. And the overwhelming panic that comes with that was too much. And I went another direction. The easy drugs, the cocaine, the heroin, they don't need to be present for those. They make it easy. They are drugs. Medicine is never easy. Drugs are easy. And easy, it's a slippery term. They're not really easy. They seem easy. They create a whole mess tied into your own idea of what you are and what this is around you and what your role in it is. That's where the mess exists. And the drugs play on that. And they reward you with physical sensations. Whereas the medicine, the toad, it shows you the sensation that you are. You strip everything down, you drop everything, you let everything go. You have no fear. It's just you breathing. It gives you that. And one dose of that, for me, I don't need to chase anything. I might experiment with another medicine if I get a good referral and it just seems like something I want to try. But I don't need any more experiences on sensation. I understand it as a whole. So I can drink a vodka right now. I can smoke a cigarette. I can do coke. I can do heroin. I can do any of these things. And none of them are going to pull me into that illusion of that is the sensation that I want to chase. It doesn't work anymore. And it used to work all the time. I've gone down many dark paths with that. That is a desperation seeking happiness and peace. Drug addicts are no different than anybody else. The judgment and the stigma, it's unfortunate. The lifestyles that are created, all the pain and suffering. Yeah, it's the drama. I say there's no stakes. It doesn't mean it's not substantial. These sensations of happiness and fear, hunger, exposure, discomfort, shame, these things exist. And if you're zoomed in, they are all that exist. Whereas if you catch a glimpse of what you are outside of that entire construct, what you really are, on the other side of that fear, then they will never be that heavy again. That even the grief, and you'll still feel the fear and the grief and the shame and the guilt. Like these things will still flow, but they won't carry the weight that they carry now. Nothing can ever carry that weight again once you realize and you are taught or told or shown what is on the other side of that fear. It's keeping you from everything that exists. And you might not have any clue that this is happening. I think it's a little more conducive for the people who have the big high peaks and the big low valleys for them to run into this experience with the medicine and make some sense of it and lean into it. And it changes you in a way that you have to decide what you believe. You have to find out what you believe. And it's not a thought, I believe this, I believe that, or I'm going to this church or whatever. You're going to be tested. And what you believe will determine the outcome of that test. For me, it was a series of terrifying experiences. Just gradually getting into I had no idea of anything I'm talking about now. None of these concepts existed. It was just this, I got to go back. And then I'm come out and I just be grateful that at the end I'm given some kind of release and pleasure. And I'm shown that deep down, under everything, I'm perfect. I'm perfect. Remember one extremely difficult week with Eric and the medicine, and he came and sat down to me. I was a wreck. I'm already on this path for years. I'm already living a wonderful life, but getting into the medicine becomes this battle, and all of the confidence and joy that I had achieved just disappears into the struggle again to really get to the core of what I am and what I believe. You can't fake it. And I thought I knew what was going on, and the medicine was showing me you didn't even get started yet. And I'm in this week-long endurance trial. And I'm coming in to take it again. And I can barely get myself to walk in, to show up. And Eric just sat down. Normally there's a routine, but normally he just broke the routine, and he sat down next to me, and he looked at me until I looked back at him, which took a while. It's hard to look into his eyes in these difficult moments because all you see is yourself. He won't encourage or placate or anything like that. He'll be nice. He's a gentle man, but he's not going to interfere with what's about to happen. One time in Mexico, I went to his house, and he's got these dogs, and they were freaking out. He had to have his wife come and get the dogs and put them inside. And I said, what is, and they were doing it around me. They're barking and howling and just running and rah, it was just this ball of energy. And I was like, Jesus. And I was already scared to death about going into the medicine. And he put them away, and I was like, what was that about? He said, they know what's about to come out of you. That's not helpful when you're in that situation. But it's true, and I could handle it. If you would have told me, asked me, could I handle that? No, I would have said that would make me leave. But the higher self makes decisions and guides you through down this path. That's what happened to me. And the thoughts and the fears and the voices in the head, they just become weaker and weaker and weaker. They take on a new role. And he sat down next to me and he said, there's nothing wrong with you. And we just sat in that silence for a minute. And he said, I think you needed to hear that before we do this. I don't know what I am in comparison to anybody else. I'm astounded at the variety of humans that I have met in this journey. The people are so different and so exciting. There's so many wonderful ways to be a human. It's astounding. And what I know about myself is not that I'm where I stand on some kind of comparison scale or inside some kind of spectrum where I'm good or bad, or that's not real. Life doesn't exist in those modes. There's no value and there's no justice. These are fabricated. The only thing that's worth knowing is what you're afraid of. And that may shift until you get to the foundation. You may not know it. I was shown it early on. I was afraid of everything. Coming into the medicine the first time, my biggest fear was ruining myself. I'm not going to be able to handle whatever is coming, and I'm going to be destroyed and a burden and a cautionary tale for the people who care about me and have watched me live this life. It doesn't make any sense to anybody. You're just not playing the game. Why don't you have the wife and the kid and the house and the fence? Why are you messing around? You're missing out, is the feeling I got from those who cared about me looking in my eyes like, you just don't get it. And I felt like at those weakest moments that, they were right and I'm just broken. And that's kind of the mentality and lack of confidence and strength that I showed up to the medicine with the first time. And Eric said, you're about to experience reality. This is God. And I'm thinking, if we're going to play games, fine. But I'm an old man. I don't need to play these games. You're not going to convince me that there's a reality that I don't know about. But there's a spirit realm around me. You're kidding me? That's all nonsense. That's all made up by the churches to try to get me to do things. So my fear was breaking myself. I thought that was my fear. And then I was inhaling the medicine, and the bank across the creek instantly started to morph. And I had enough time for a few more panic thoughts of, I'm not going to be able to do this. And what is it? Is it a place I go? Is it a thought that I have to endure? Is it just a panic attack that's going to leave me in some kind of managed care for the rest of my life? What could it possibly be? All I knew was my thoughts. And showed me what's on the other side of them, which is what's on the other side of the fear, which is reality, which is God, which is me. The notion that that thing that's creating words in my head and these thoughts can be broken is laughable to me now. It can break if it wants. It's still not going to disrupt my day. That's just going to carry on. The volume goes way down. The pressure goes way down. The stakes don't exist. And I learned that I really wasn't afraid of breaking myself. I wasn't afraid of the shame of that or of hurting others. These are false flags. This is the very clever thinking mind just doing what it can to distract and confuse and manipulate. Those aren't the things that had me trembling. What I was afraid of was dying. It's what I was afraid of since I started this life. We don't talk about it much. Somebody dies, it's grief, and there's this moroseness and terribleness, and it's just a dark, cold, vacant thing of death. And when you're young, you just take the word for it, okay, and it's not going to happen to you anyway. You can feel that you're not going to die. You know you're eternal. And old people will look at that and say, well, these kids, they just don't know that they can die, and that's why we send young men to war and all this stuff. Well, it's partly true, but it's also, they still are connected to what they actually are. They know they're not going to die because they aren't going to die. This is going to end, this drama, this body, like everything else. But the stakes aren't that high because it's fine anyway. It's all fine. It's all perfect. So after that first day, it's been repeated attempts to get through that fear. And I believe today that it doesn't go away. The fear of death exists in us. So it's always there. But the weight is different. Like living 2 inches above the ground. Like it's all the terrible things are still there. They're lurking. They're hovering. But nothing has the sting it has when you live in the thoughts. It's a life-changing experience to be shown this, that the way you think isn't what you are. I don't know of anything bigger, more intense, and more rewarding in this life than that. I've had an incredible adventure in this world and done a lot of things not on the normal path. All kinds of wonderful experiences. Nothing comes close at all to this, to that sensation coming out of the medicine when it's all gone. That was my last experience in May. Another difficult, challenging series of ceremonies, back to back to back to back, getting me ready for what I had to accept on the last one, which was big. the beauty of life itself. I wanted desperately to accept it. I knew it was there because the medicine had shown me what life is, and it let me feel for different amounts of time, sometimes 10 seconds, sometimes 10 weeks, what it is. It's just bliss. It's harmony. It's harmony. And that in May, it was all gearing up to get there. Just several days of heavier and heavier experiences, more and more fear, a more and more challenging walk to get to the ceremony, just to get myself to it, because what was stirring in me, stirring up this fear, was coming from deeper than it ever had before. We weren't just some fragile, deluded young man anymore. Now we're actually taking the medicine to heal. We've gotten through a lot of the noise, gotten through a lot of ourself, made some changes, adopted a lifestyle, and become grounded with this knowledge. And yet, everything was stirring up again, coming from deep, deep down, the fear and the terror. And now I don't really know anymore what I'm afraid of, because I had thought I had already been through so much. I thought I had a lot of answers, and it was all starting over, like from the first time. And it was too much. And the doses were huge. Huge. When we started out, it would be like a mouse turd. That much resin in the bulb. And in May, it was like a bowl of cornflakes. But I trust Eric with all that. He knows the medicine as much as someone can, and he knows me as much as someone can. He's seen me. It's the strangest relationship in my life, and I cherish it. He has seen me break through myself gradually over the course of years. Didn't feel gradual to me, but I have a feeling he's looking at this like we could have done this in a week. Like, if you really get after this, it's limitless, it's infinite, and you find that out right away, and you just play with it. You got to get through yourself. It's just the first step for the people who navigate this realm. Eric's not the only one. There's people in my network of the Toad Army that do this. It doesn't matter background, age, gender. None of that matters. I've come to believe it's a disposition. I remember seeing a documentary on Pink Floyd, and the earliest members of Pink Floyd was a man named Syd Barrett, and the whole band was getting into psychedelics. I guess it was like the 60s and 70s, and LSD was just exploding everywhere. And there was people telling stories about this guy who he would just take huge doses of it. And the one guy he would just take a handful and he would just go into the closet in his bedroom and close the door and sit there in the dark for 10 hours. He wouldn't come out. And he was happy. There was nothing wrong. That's what he wanted. And his friend described him as a man with an unbelievable capacity for alternate realities. You know, some of us have that. We can let go and find out what's coming. It's a great way to be. It doesn't always result in success in our society, unfortunately. But I cherish these people. I think someone off the street might think I'm that warrior, and I am a warrior of the self, which is the truest kind of warrior. But there's ranks, and I am a foot soldier compared to some of these other folks. It's remarkable to me to watch them go through these experiences, the way they handle themselves and the way they handle it. I can sense a little bit of it in me, so I can appreciate it in them when it's full bore. There's a lot of interesting people out there. There's a whole world, a whole universe of ways to be a human. And it's in flux constantly. You are under no obligation to be the person you were 5 minutes ago. If you go into the medicine and you come out empty, stripped bare, my last time coming out, I knew I was here. And it's a kind of here that I really don't ever have to leave. This is sustained. There are moods, sensations, threats, fear, joy. There's all these things. And then there's me. And the power, people talk about power, people are addicted to it. I didn't know what it was. I've never been one to need to be in a position of authority or to have the attention or to even have all the possessions. None of these things really interested me. But coming out of the medicine that day, power is what I had. It's what I have. I've accepted it, which is all that was needed. So it's a simple process. It's a physiological process that, on the one hand, you will not survive. What came out of the ceremony that day was me, stripped of everything that I had fabricated or allowed to be fabricated on my behalf. All of it gone. I was hollow. I was empty. I was floating. I was light. And my mind, the thinking mind, the physical body, all these things were in turmoil. It's just, everything was wobbling. I could barely walk. I started crying. I didn't know why. I laughed a little bit. I couldn't make sense of anything. But it was all part of the drama. I was fully centered. I was in complete power of myself for the first time ever. All of the fears have been reallocated. Everything has been put in its place. I'm changed, but I'm not different. I'm unchanged. I'm authentic. I'm what I am. Without the noise and without all the ambition and desire and fear and dread and envy. All these things are gone. And what's left? What's left is a capacity for joy, an acceptance of beauty, things that I will never lose. By not holding on to anything, you suddenly possess everything. By finding out what you're truly afraid of, everything that was leveraging that fear and putting a mask on and trying to use it to control you, to deter you. And you're doing a lot of that with your own fabrication. You're afraid to ask that girl out, not because you're afraid of that girl. You're afraid of what you are, what you're entitled to. How much peace and joy and happiness are you allowed to have in this life? A lot of fear comes from this. I've seen it in the medicine. I've seen people take it and be shown what is and to run away. It's heartbreaking. It goes so deep, these fabrications. The power that you surrender to everyone else until you don't even know what to think anymore. You're unable to decide what is good and bad. You need guidance on everything in your life. You need an expert. You need to go see the doctor, and you need to go see the therapist, and you need to go see the teacher, and you need to go see the supervisor, and you need to see the boss, and you need to go see the life coach, because you have surrendered all the power that is yours, and you don't know what to do anymore. You want someone to give it to you. You are now a good citizen, a good consumer, a taxpayer. Nothing else matters. You won't be rescued from that situation. You're going to rescue yourself, or you're going to exist in that situation. It's entirely up to you. It really doesn't matter to anybody else but you. And just like you can't know what you're afraid of until you face fear itself and break through it, all of the I'm going to die, all that's part of it. If death came to you right now, what are your thoughts? Not that they matter. You can watch a human and they're going to die in 30 seconds. You can just watch and then they die. How much can the thoughts matter? Well, it's your experience. It's your death. And it can go a couple different ways. And I do believe there is some consequence into how we live and more importantly, how we die. I don't believe in any kind of awful punishments and you did it wrong. There's no right and wrong. There's just what you are. And what you are, the more you understand it, the more liberated you are. That has an effect. The more you can let your higher self and your spiritual self exist. Can you accept it against all of the thoughts and instincts that you think you have? Can you accept it? Well, the medicine lets you do that step by step. You're going to die. What are you going to do about it? You're going to fight. You're going to struggle. You're going to resist. You're going to scream out. You're going to panic. And you can say, well, I don't care. Life's too hard. I'm ready to die. Well, then let's find out. It's such an easy thing to use words to describe death. And none of them work. Imagine a place that's just you where there are no words. And the intensity of everything is ramped up off the charts. The electricity, the energy that you are, is now running freely through you. There's no thoughts to help you. There's no escape. There's no surrender. There's no, I don't want to do this anymore. You are going through it. You will learn about yourself when you do this. And when you come back into this world, which is appreciated because it's so easy to navigate compared to where the medicine takes you. The intensity, there's a reason it's short-lived. There's only so much that can be handled, in my opinion. And you come back here and it's pretty simple. And you can see all the other people making all of their moves. You can see in their eyes what they want. You can see love all around you, not only in the people. You can see it everywhere. You can see it in the grass. You can see it in the insects. You can see it in the birds. You see it. You see things differently. Not because they are different, but because you've lost your grip on all your filters. You've lost your handle on the thing that was getting you from day to day today. This is who I am. This is what I am. This is what I want. This is what I'm afraid of. It's all made up. And now you are removed from it. Come out of the medicine and you're just here. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. It's a symphony of sights and smells and sounds and textures, all engineered to be beautiful. All engineered for your benefit. All part of you. There's no other parts. When you let go of this construct of what you think you are right now, and you are shown what actually exists, there's no, I think this is where the non-duality phrase comes from. If you start getting into philosophy and all this line of thought, it was a confusing term for me when I started reading on this, but I think what it means is in this experience of coming out without your constructed paradigm, there's no separation between you and anything else or anyone else. It's all one thing and you at the same time. So when the outside world and the inside world come together, is how Alan Watts describes it. And it's not for the timid to have every belief and certainty that you possess crushed, dissolved, set on fire, destroyed. Pick your adjective, reverb, or whatever they are. That's not for everybody. Because you won't know where to go from there. It's like in the medicine, there's no up and down. There's no you and them. There's no in and out. There's no good and bad. There's just this torrent of electricity. Pure energy. And I think a good indicator of where we stand as a society, knowing that we are all going into this place that I'm talking about. Nobody's getting away. Play all the games, do all the talk you want. You're not escaping this. Nobody is. And I think our learned society, our hubris, our science over God, this tilt toward data and facts, and nothing exists except this, and then it's just gone, and it's just a fluke, that this has caught on, and this is what people think and adopt en masse. That society of intellect can't answer one simple question. What is energy? There's no answer to that. It's like asking, what is death? What is love? I would argue that the what is love and the what is energy question are the same question. When you're in love, you're in the energy. Going through this experience has resulted in me falling in love with myself. It was so hard to describe the beauty and bliss that was becoming my life. And I realized one day, I can remember being 12 years old and falling in love with Chandra, this girl in my class, and just obsessing. I had a little tiny school picture of her, 2-inch by 2-inch picture, and I kept it next to my bed. I just stared at it all night long. I just wanted to see her. I was overcome. That's how I feel now. Except it's not directed at any other thing. It just exists in me. Some people call the toad the love medicine. Imagine falling in love, but there's no other people. You're just in love. That is our default state as humans. That's what this is all about. The whole thing. It's what you get. It's your birthright. It's what you carry with you in this life. And this life, there are no rules or guarantees. There's no good. There's no bad. There's no, a life done well, a life ruined. These are fake concepts. It's just life. Babies have been born and murdered in 2 seconds of being alive. This is something that happens in our society, in our world. More than once, by the way. We chop each other up into pieces constantly. It can't be that serious. The stakes can't be that high. Look at how we so callously murder each other. Look at what viruses and diseases do to us. Look at what nature does to us if we get in the wrong place at the wrong time. It can't be tragic if it's happening all the time. That's not what tragic means. The only word for it is life. And if it came to you right now, if death came to you right now, what are you going to do? Are you going to think about the life you lived? People say, oh, I saw my life flash before my eyes. Well, kinda. Although a lot of that is the guilt and the shame and the sudden realization that you've fooled yourself for your entire life. I think that's where that comes from, is this realization of what actually happens in a near-death experience. And you come back unchanged, I should say, unmade, back to where you started, and ready to live. The reward is you're ready to live. It's not that you're going to fix your life, that is a fake concept as well. You don't need to improve. There's nothing to improve. There's just you. And the torment you're putting yourself through, you can stop if you choose to. If your life is just this awful, terrible mess, you have created that mess. It doesn't matter your explanation and your excuse. It carries no weight for anybody except yourself. You're using those rationalizations to keep the construct maintained. It's a hard psychic effort to maintain an illusion for an entire life. It requires constant effort. Because the truth is right here. One little near-death experience, one little experiment with the toad medicine, and it's all gone. That's how fragile it all is that you've created. The more things you can point at in your life that led you to today in a negative, woe is me, bullshit kind of way, the more fragile your construct is. You got it like 10 layers deep on all these people that wronged you and led you to this awful mess of a life. That's not true. None of that is true. None of those people have power over you unless you give it to them. And by wallowing in your misery and getting drunk and eating cheeseburgers and getting high and beating your children and being cruel to your spouse and being a bad employee and a bad uncle and a bad person, negative, that's you. There is no other explanation. This adult way of looking at yourself is what happens when you come out of the medicine. So yes, people lead quote unquote better lives. They don't poison themselves with bad food and substances. They enjoy their body and moving and being outside in nature. They enjoy being around people they care about. They become happy people. They're in love with life, with it. That love just keeps flowing. The more that flows through you, the more that comes back. It's an exponential force. It's the only example of this in nature is the more of it that you give, the more you receive. There's nothing else like it. It's your energy. It's your doing. It's your karma. That's what it is. This can happen in a split second. It can happen after 20 years of effort and struggle. The only barrier is yourself. And the only consequence is a full life. A life that when death comes, it's probably not going to be that flash of all your mistakes and all the could have and the should have. It's probably going to be more like the biggest exhale that you've ever had and slipping into the river of electricity that defines all existence. There's going to be fear, I'm sure. It's unknown. And if you take the medicine and you experience this, it's still unknown. I don't know anything. All I know is what I thought I knew is not real. That's the only thing that I've learned. Is that I was full of shit. So by learning able to see and accept what is real. And there's nothing I can do with it. There's nothing to do. There's no consequence. There's no ramification. It's just it's me. Life is pleasant. That's it. But the struggle that I was in to get here makes it important to me. This has been the adventure that I've been seeking forever. This is what I wanted. I didn't want what other people told me to have. I didn't know what I wanted. It was all this. The whole thing had to go this way. And I don't know what's coming tomorrow, but I'm okay with it. I wonder if it's going to be more tests. That's your test. How dark can it be? How painful? How much of a struggle? These are tests. These are you showing up or giving up. And the central focus of my life being this existence that doesn't need anything. It never can need anything. I think we should have a better relationship with nature. I believe that. I think there's opportunities for civilizations and societies to exist that have an enormous amount of joy and pleasure and love in them. This is all potential. It's all possible. But I'm not up at night worrying because we're polluting the sky. That's what we create messes. There's nothing we can do to defeat this thing that is life, this nature, this force. The earth can get hit with a meteor and completely disappear. Like that is a possibility. Just like us polluting the rivers and killing the animals and just being bad stewards is a reality. But it's not a good or a bad thing. I don't need to wag my finger at everybody and say, you're doing this wrong. That's not what this is. This is, oh boy, what's possible? What if the people who have real authority understand this and see other people this way? If we see each other, we all possess this. It cannot be taken from you. You can give it away, and you have. But nobody can take it from you. It's the simplest thing, and it's hard to describe. It's this vague, hazy notion, just like the notion that you're under no obligation to be who you were 5 minutes ago. It's all a hazy notion, and you're holding it all together. There's no other force in your life keeping this maintained except you. And not spending all that energy on maintaining an illusion is the result is a flood of pleasure and joy and a level of extreme relaxation that I've never felt any other time in my life. I don't know of any other way to relax the way I have been shown relaxation along this journey. There's a tie-in between this blissful pleasure and the relaxation itself. They live in the same place. So if you're not there, you're not at that level of relaxation. And that could mean that you're strung out and you're at the completely other end of the scale, or you're just a little preoccupied, a little dehydrated, a little stressed. But you're blocking it. The relaxation exists. It's right there. And there's really nothing you have to do to get there except to stop doing what you're doing right now, which is maintaining this identity. which you are under no obligation to maintain. What happens if you let it all go? I can tell you, I have been, if anybody cared and they wrote like an obituary for me, and if I died today, and what would it would say that I was a good student when I was young, I was a good athlete when I was young, I was a traveler, I was an adventurer, I was a journalist, I was a creative marketer, advertising executive. I was a businessman. I was an entrepreneur. But I am nothing. I am nothing. I took the medicine and all those things disappeared. And what a relief. Trying to hang on to something that it's hard for me to understand the attraction anymore. That ambition and that ego and those motivations. What other people are going to think of me. It's exhausting to think about having to go down that path and convince other people of things. Well, who am I to convince other people of anything? I don't know anything. I know nothing and I am nothing. And it's beautiful. I only know that I'm not fooling myself anymore. And that everybody I meet, almost everybody, is. They are that person they were 5 minutes ago. They are that person they were 5 years ago. This castle of illusion has been built on top of themselves. It's huge, intricate, complex, but it's matchsticks. You're under no obligation to be anything. You already are what you are. You were that when you were born, and you'll be that when you die. And in the middle, you can play this game. But we forgot that it's a game. And it's no fun when that happens. People slice each other's throats. The greed and all the stuff, it's coming, I think, at its most basic level from fear. The ocean of fear. All these people deluding themselves into thinking they're not going to die, or that they're prepared for death, or that they understand what they are, or they understand what life's about, and it's about them making more money and having more employees, or having another yacht, or whatever. It's no fun when none of the players understand that it's a game. It could be a lot of fun. It's fun for me now, secretly. I still run my business. I still navigate the entire spectrum of our society that I had to before. I'm just better at it. And I don't relinquish any power to it. The terrible things happen all the time, and they do not get to me. Things that would put me on a bar stool for a week 10 years ago. I don't even lose sleep. It barely interferes with my afternoon walk. What's the worst that can happen? What's the absolute worst? What am I really afraid of? That deal might not go through. What am I afraid of? Am I afraid of that deal not going through? Am I afraid of not making payroll this month? Am I afraid of not being able to pay my tax bill? Am I afraid of losing my home? Losing my car? All of these things happen all the time. They're just part of being a human. That's society. That's life. There are ways. carved pathways on how to deal with these things. Running out of money is something that happens. How afraid am I of it? Am I going to go hungry? How afraid am I of hunger? Well, not very. Discomfort, yeah, it concerns me. I like to be comfortable. So I should be able to maintain some comfort in my lifestyle and navigate the rest. That's kind of where I'm at. And that's not that difficult. And I'm not rich. There is no rich and poor. There's people out there with millions of dollars in accounts they've never touched. They're so old, they're almost going to retire from their job. And all their psychic energy is devoted to putting as much money as they can in these accounts that they don't even use, so that when they're really old, all that money's there for them. What kind of life is this? What kind of existence is that? What do you think you're going to get? What do you think is coming for you? You think there's some day that's different than today? There's going to be a time that's different than now? It doesn't exist. It's easy to live that way. I don't have time to acknowledge my existence and worry about reality. I got kids to feed. I got to worry about my retirement. I got to pay off this house. I got to get that beach house. Like, it's such a cop-out. And then the magnanimity that comes in of, well, I'm better than you because I'm sacrificing my ability to selfishly evaluate my own existence. I have the upper hand now. I can look down on you because I have sacrificed. You're a coward. You're afraid. And you don't even know what you're afraid of yet. But you will find out. We all do. It happens at the end. Or it happens now. And liberates you for the rest of the time that you're on the earth. If that sounds appealing, it's right here. It's just you acknowledging the fact that you are not required to be who you were 5 minutes ago. You're under no obligation. You're free right now. It's a scary journey. And it's not that this is going to, let's everybody do it and change the world. That's not what this is either. There's a niche audience that's going to hear this, and it's going to resonate. I talk about where I was when this started, and they know that place. It's okay to be run by fear, to be driven by fear, to be controlled by it. It's just negative potential. The worst type of person that you can imagine is really the potential for the best type of person you can imagine without taking any initiative, without acknowledging they're under no obligation to be who they were 5 minutes ago. That's where the energy's coming from. That's where all the bad stuff's coming from. It's glorious that that's how it's set up. That's how it's set up. Because the people who feel like they have no hope, they have all the hope. They have all the promise. That's how deep they've gone in to holding on to the self that they created yesterday. The being nothing is everything, because none of it matters. And if you want to be that teacher, that athlete, that business owner, this doesn't detract from that. It doesn't get in the way of any of it. It lets you do it for real so that you become that thing that you want to be. And life happens and you lose it, and you don't jump off a building. You don't give up your power and your joy because you were under the obligation that you had to be that person and that thing. Just acknowledging that it's a fabrication is the liberation. And the awareness that maybe you're giving power to people that you don't have to. They certainly don't deserve it, but why are you surrendering what you are to satisfy others? Why are you doing that? Well, you must be afraid of not doing it. And the more you do it, the more you're afraid, the more potential you have. The greater the reward will be. There is no loss of hope. There is no writing it off. Oh, it's too late. It's too dark. It's too bad. There's none of that. It's quite the opposite. That's the beauty of this whole experience. It's always here. It's always right now. It's always available. Dogs know it. If you see a dog and they're in some kind of distress, they're afraid, they're in a fight, or whatever, something bad is happening, and then it stops happening, and what do? They celebrate life. They go out and have fun. They do what they want to do. They don't give that up because of that terrible person that came and hurt them. They don't give up what they are to that. But we do. And we encourage, society encourages it. There's an entire paradigm constructed around people who go through terrible things when they're young, when they're little. We expect it to destroy their entire life. We let them know that that's okay and it's just accepted, and here, take some pills. That's not what we are. Resilient is not enough of a word to describe what we are. We are indefatigable, unshakable, immortal. We just don't want to believe it. It's hard to accept because you want to accept that you're obligated to be what you are. And you're not. You are under no obligation to be the person you were 5 minutes ago.